Hello everyone and welcome back to another video in my Let's Play series. I am Sylphin and today I am bringing you a video on GRIM.exe. He's a really interesting character that was released before Richter, and I'm actually quite excited to play him because his passive is interesting, and we're trying to do a build that focuses on using that, increasing it, and also obviously increasing our other abilities as well. So what is that? So you can see here, Grim.exe's CDR slash something something, we are focusing on getting energy damage on cooldown reduction cards. Why cooldown reduction? Well, if you haven't played Grim before, his passive is Overcharge. Every 8 seconds, Pulse Cannon does 25 bonus energy damage and shreds 22 energy armor. The idea is that cooldown reduction will reduce that 8 seconds so that we can shoot an overcharged basic attack more often, increasing our damage, increasing our effectiveness on the battlefield. Now his ranged attack does basically 40 energy damage, and is a fairly easy auto attack to land. Obviously he's a ranged caster character, and has a fair amount of utility with his other skills that we will get to in a moment. So the first the first ability I'm going to use is actually Q. It's called Displacement Blast. Lobbed shot that deals 20 energy damage and displaces enemies. So what I actually could have done was used my Q to push that Grux away from our Richter and saved him, but instead I used the Q to push that Grux closer to me so that I could finish him off. If you haven't noticed, this is a computer match simply because the Q was just absolutely ridiculous. So I am simply just going to pretend like this is a PvP game. So right now I push the left lane, the enemy team would be coming, so I'm going to dip down and get these white camps. How does Grim do in the jungle? Fairly well. His Q deals damage, a fair amount of damage, and with his later abilities we can reduce the damage that these minions are doing to us and be that much more effective in the jungle. So the next ability we're going to go for is Deflector Shield. I probably would like to go into his E, but we're trying to play it safe in a PvP setting. Safety is better. So what does his right-click do? Ability blocking shield that regenerates 90 mana on a successful block. Now I'm not sure how much damage is blocked from the enemy. I believe it might be 100%, but I'm not entirely sure. Leave a comment down in comment section below to kind of let me know how that's going. And we'll also figure it out as we progress here. So his last and final ability is Suppression Mode. It's a toggled ability, so you hit it once and then it kind of stays. It makes his Pulse Cannon use 25 mana and applies a 40 max movement speed slow for 1.5 seconds. So it's a great utility ability that can slow the enemy. So here I'm using my... I have it toggled, the enemy is slowed, so that I can ensure this kill on this Severog. But I am running out of mana. That is the one crux here, and it looks like, yeah. So there you go. There's a good example of how your E can be used to secure kills. So now we have 6 card power. I'm going to finish off this lane and go back, and we can start our deck build. Alrighty, so I do not have the best energy damage with cooldown reduction cards on the planet, so really the only thing is this Chronomancer disc. Now, it's actually not that bad of a card, because with his E, using his E to secure kills with that slow, it uses a fair amount of mana. Now, the Chronomancer disc does have mana, so kind of works a little bit. It gives us 3 extra shots of our E to hit the enemy. Now, hopefully that the cooldown reduction works. Usually you would add cooldown reduction upgrades to really get a 40% cooldown bonus, but we are focusing on staying a little bit more balanced in our upgrades and doing all energy damage. That might not be balanced, but you know what I mean. So there's no enemies that I see on the minimap. I have 2, actually. So what should always do, put down a ward to protect your flank when you are pushing lanes. So, his ultimate ability, GTFO, homing orb that deals a 370 energy damage, can pass through the world and non-hero units. So it's a really cool kind of locked-on homing missile sort of energy orb that is quite the effective ultimate. So right now I can see only 2 enemies on the minimap, so I'm going to back up even though I have that ward. We're going to get some camps here and maybe go with our team out to the mid lane. So we pushed the mid lane just a bit. We swung by and grabbed our white camps, and because we pushed that mid lane a bit, the enemy team would certainly have collapsed on us. So I'm going to go back to our right lane and get this pushing in the right direction. So his his ultimate, we'll get a good example of it here. So we're going to use our E, and we don't even get to really see it. As for ability priorities, what I've been doing is doing my Q just for some lane clear here in the early game, and then going into my basic attack. His Q does an okay amount of damage, but is not necessarily a reliable source of game-changing, fight-changing damage that you really should kind of rely on. So I'm going to be going into as much as possible. I mean, there's only 3 levels of your basic attack. So again here, I only see 1. No, I see none. I see none of the enemies on the minimap, so this is really risky. I have a teammate here beside me, so I'm going to be safe in doing this so far, but back up after that and you spend the 6 card power. So the little bit of extra mana from that Chronomancer disc has proven to be actually quite useful. It really has turned out to be quite well. So I'm going to do something a little bit strange. I'm going to get another one for some extra mana. No. So I decided not to, just because that mana has really been quite okay. Haven't been really out of mana yet. I don't have a harvester cards to swing by and plant these harvesters, so I'm going to get this blue camp and these couple of white camps. So, as you can see, clearing camps once we have upgraded our damage is not really all that bad. You can clear them fairly well. I didn't land a few Qs somehow on the minions, but even if you did that, it'd be quite effective. We're going to push this lane a bit and trying to focus on our Q, upgrading our Q. So this gadget here seems to be a little bit bugged. Lovely computers. But let's see how we do against her. So we're going to use our Q, push her back a little bit. We're going to do this. We're doing a fair amount of damage. She landed her E, her Q on me, and not bad. We certainly dealt some damage. Gadget really isn't that punishing of a sorry, not much of a healthy character, but still the difference is all the same. So it's doing not too bad so far. Against a team of human players, I'm sure that my influence would be a little bit reduced, but we're doing a fair amount of damage, and I think really that's the kind of the important part here. Now this tower is almost dead, so I might as well just kind of finish it off and swing off into the enemy jungle to pick up some camps. Okay, so we're coming up against this Grux here, and let's see how we perform. I'm going to throw in my E to try to keep him away from me, but it doesn't look like he's going to get away. He's a perfect example of our ultimate, and he's melted. Quite a bit of damage, and our ultimate just annihilated that Grux. As you can see, when you use it, a targeting reticle comes up, and as long as by the time the energy orb is released from your weapon and the target is inside it, it'll follow the enemy to the ends of the earth. So what we're actually going to do is do another Chronomancer disc with some major caskets. 10% cooldown reduction. It really isn't that much, but hopefully this Pendulum of Lords, as I'm anticipating maybe some mana and sustain issues, we can throw in some mana health upgrades to get this cooldown reduction, and maybe some cooldown reduction upgrades as well. After that, then we're going to go into attack speed, because that will increase when we can use our passive. So, sorry, that'll increase every 8 seconds. You'll be able to use your passive. So if your passive is available to you, but you're sitting there with a really long attack speed interval, then it might actually become like 9 seconds in between attacks. Do you kind of get what I mean? So what we want to be firing them as much as possible to try to get every last millisecond out of our passive. So let's see what we can do here with this Decker. Nice Q ability for her, a nice fence. So let's back up here, we're going to use our right click, but she jumped to me, so I'm going to target my E to try to slow her down. I'm going to knock her preferably to the back, but that didn't happen. I'm going to just use my R, boom, and locked on, and she's annihilated. So, not bad. So you can see we had about a third health as we ended that engagement. So our sustain could maybe be a little bit increased with some health, but really that worked out quite well. I'm going to increase our deflector shield just so that keep our E and our right click kind of, our utility and sustain abilities kind of a little bit at par, so we're not kind of too lopsided. I'm going to go back and try to see what I can do about this Severog, maybe get our camps as well. Alright, so this Muriel came in, used her ultimate on her friendly Sevarog, but I am just too much and did way too much damage. Melted her. Two of my friendly teams came in to help. So again, I'm going to go with my Q just to kind of help with the displacement and the little bit of damage that it does. Clear these lanes, go back, and hopefully by that point we will have 6 hard power. Alright, so now that we have finished off that second Chronomancer disc with 2 more energy damage upgrades, we are going to be quite a punishing character in these team fights. This red orb that I've picked up will hopefully really help with damage, but also there's no way with the increased movement speed on hits from the red orb and my E ability that the enemy will not be escaping. Between the slow from my E and the increased movement speed, there's really no way. So I think that there's some potential in actually some kind of crit-based build or some kind of interesting card with increased movement speed to just be an absolute menace, just chasing enemies down. There could be potential here. So what I'm going to do now is go over to left lane, try to clear this Muriel, get the enemy's camps, and try to join my team up at the enemy's base. Okay, so that was the end of the video. I forgot to unpause it, so I'm not quite sure when you guys lost, when I lost you, but anyways, the build was okay. So the overall strategy was just getting this 10% cooldown reduction with all of the energy, all energy damage, going into some attack speed just to increase our attack speed and utilize that energy damage bonus a little bit more, and then getting 1 crit just to add that crit chance and that crit bonus into the kind of potential for our damage. Very sorry about that little bit of a break there. I hope it wasn't too long. So yeah, an interesting video. I think Grim is going to definitely benefit from energy damage. I'm just going to have to tinker around with some builds, seeing how attack speed or crit or cooldown reduction or some strange, really sustained build for him is going to work. It's going to be interesting to see how Grim turns out. Please, guys, like the video if you liked it, disliked it if you disliked it. Leave a comment on the video. How did you like the build? How did you like my video? Please leave suggestions as to how I can make it better. Also, take a look at my recent announcement video of a unique opportunity that you could very much have. And guys, until next time, I really appreciate you watching my video. Till next time, take care.